Bingies, welcome to the BingeWorthy podcast, part of the Geekish Network. My name is Johnny Randolph, and as you can see, I got a vast screen of some dope-ass co-hosts in here tonight. My first co-host, you know this one. She's a superstar. She's an actress, a writer. Miss Courtney Scott Wright. Say what's up to the people, Courtney.
Hello, hello.
And you know this guy, he's Nuke from the Ville. Yo, Ricard, let him know who you are, son.
Hello, Governor.
And this guy, yo, he needs no introduction, but Chuck, man, tell the people who you are, man.
What it do, people?
And while she's not always routinely on, she's a friend, she's a family, she's part of the family here at the BingeWorthy podcast. Catherine, tell the people who you are, man.
Hello, I'm Catherine. I'm I guess a founder and art director now, but of a company, Hold Creature Studio. But yeah.
Nice. I like it. I like it. And new to the BingeWorthy podcast, Dayla. Please say what's up to the people, man.
What's up to the people? I'm a creator. I am a producer. I am a bi-celestial being. I enjoy both the Star Wars and the Star Trek.
Oh.
I like it. I like it.
Heart right here. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Great to be here.
Yeah, you get full support for that premonition right here on the BingeWorthy podcast. All right. And the purpose of the BingeWorthy podcast is that each week we will binge watch a television series to let you know if you should. Tonight, as it's probably no surprise to anybody, we are talking Ahsoka. The premise of Ahsoka is Ahsoka Tano investigates an emerging threat to the galaxy following the fall of the Empire with a coterie of friends. Her quest to protect the newly formed Republic with the help of her friends and buried secrets about herself. Okay. The way our show starts off is at the beginning of it. We will rate it using our unique binge-worthy scale. Then we engage in conversation. And afterwards, we will re-rate it. And just maybe some of our discussion from our illustrious panel can influence us to change that rating. So I'm going to call on my technical director right now. Rodney, how did the binge-worthy crew rate Ahsoka? All right, so we got, okay, so this is going to be some. We got 3 binge-worthies. We got a mini meal, 2 mini meals. Man, y'all done messed up my count. I got it.
Gotta do the maths.
Yeah, I can't do the math. So we got 2
You got
meals.
You got 15.
So that's 22 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. We got
22 total.
22. So out of 6. And that's a 3.66. So we can round that up to a mini meal. All right. So this going, we gonna have some fun tonight. All right, so I'm gonna start off with this conversation. I got a feeling it's gonna have a mind of its own, and I'm just gonna let it do what it do. So tonight, I'm gonna start off with you, Rakai. Ahsoka and the many characters in this season, they were developed from the animated series, The Clone Wars, and Rebels. How do you think this series did in adapting the characters from animation to live action?
If we're talking pure casting,
we're talking about the look of them.
Yeah, well then, I mean, I think as far as the casting and the look of them, I think they did well. Of course, they changed some things for the live action. I'm not going to nitpick on things too much, but I think as far as getting
Chuck will.
I mean, Chuck, yeah. But anyway, I think there were a few things that if I wanted to nitpick, I could nitpick about it. But, and I think it's kind of like when the first time we saw Ahsoka in live action, her tendril, everyone complained about, they didn't look. And they kind of went back and fixed that, fixed the length and fixed the way that they kind of flow on her head. It still kind of looked rubbery to me. But
it's still a little short. Yeah.
Yeah, but all in all, I think that I think the only one that kind of I don't know if I agree. I guess Ezra just doesn't look like what I would think the grown version of his character on Rebels looks like. I mean, I guess, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it'll do. So I mean, as far as what I've seen on here, I'm not upset about it. It's not completely off.
Okay. So everybody called you out. I'm not doing it. Everybody called you out. So Chuck, do you have a difference of opinion than what
How everybody looked. I thought her tendrils were short. I thought she looked like Rosario Dawson looks like Ahsoka. She doesn't sound like Ahsoka, nor does she behave like Ahsoka. She doesn't emote. Ahsoka talks with her hands. She didn't even talk with her hands. Ahsoka talks with her eyes. She didn't talk with her eyes. She sat there with her arms crossed half the show, probably 90% of the show. You take a shot with her arms crossed, you will die from alcohol poisoning.
Oh Lord.
You will die from alcohol poisoning. Go back and count the number of times per episode she's like this. And I don't know, maybe she was cold on set and she had no emotion in her voice. She whispered, she was like, hey guys. She was ASMR Ahsoka the whole entire show. And Ahsoka is snappy and she's snippy about things and she uses her hands. She's a black girl that uses her hands. And here she's like this. Rosario Dawson walked around like this. I was waiting for her to do the robot and break it down.
Oh,
I thought Ezra was perfect. I don't think that I thought was wrong with Ezra. His hair wasn't long enough. I figured he's out in the woods. How's he going to cut his hair? His hair would be longer. But he nailed Ezra's look. He had the scars, the big full nose. I even thought Sabine looked right. I think everybody looked right in the show, and it looked like the cartoon. But some of the characters didn't feel right.
Okay.
Like Thrawn, I thought was perfect.
Okay.
I
All right.
thought was perfect.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's jump over to you, Courtney. You are an actress, as we all know. Give us your opinion on the acting for the series.
Okay, so first of all, I can't argue with anything that Chuck said about Rosario Dawson and her performance of Ahsoka. I think, and please, let me finish first. Chuck, but I think that we also have a very, very deep connection to Ashley Eckstein and the character that she brought and created within Ahsoka. So this particular character, although she would be right on par with Thrawn, the difference is that he actually voiced the character for the series. So I mean, I understand. No, I don't really understand that. I get that they were not going to cast Ashley Eckstein. I get that.
Yeah, I get that.
However, and I get that Rosario Dawson was like a fan request on Twitter. Like they were like, please get Rosario to be Ahsoka. And she's like, okay, I'm down with that. I get that that's how it started. But at that point, if you're going to commit to this character, then I think you need to commit to the character and really watch the series. So wait, hold on. Now, that being said, I agree with the hand motions, but in the later seasons of Rebels, Ahsoka was more subdued. She was more reserved and she was more thoughtful. So them creating like Ahsoka the White, like Gandalf, like I can see that, but I think she did the job that was asked of her.
Yes, I agree with you.
I think she did the job that was asked of her. I think Ezra was perfect, other than those contacts.
Yes.
Other than those contacts, Ezra was perfect. I think that Sabine, in face and in mannerisms and structure, was Sabine. I don't think she had the fire. I don't believe that girl was a Mandalorian. There's nothing about her that brought that heat. But everybody else, I thought was on par. I thought the acting was solid. I just, we all have our favorites because we love the series so much.
Yeah, I think everybody took their
I passed the stick.
I agree with you. I think everybody took direction. I think Rosario Dawson was told to act that way because I seen her in Clerks. I saw her in Kids. I've seen her in a number of things where she was emoted better. But what they made Ahsoka in this was not only motionless but emotionless.
They
She had
made
that
her a monk
smirk.
as a
They
Jedi. They made her a monk.
Right. They made her like every other male Jedi
Mhm.
became
Yeah.
in the history of
And
OG
she's not a
Star.
Jedi.
OG Star.
Yeah, she was
Listen, but
almost
they but
Qui-Gon walking around there.
Yeah.
that part.
yeah.
And but I feel but she was raised by those people.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I feel like even though, you know, like the whole like Anakin following her training, finishing her training, I do think that in some ways Ahsoka is a master. She's a Jedi master. She can say whatever she wants to say. But we all know.
Oh God, yeah.
But
Say the word Jedi
go
one
ahead.
more time in this series. I'm like, how many times are they going to say it throughout these 8 episodes? But Catherine, I'm turning to you really quickly. Star Wars is known for its special effects and its production value. How do you think this series lived up to its predecessors, and why?
Definitely like the costume design. It was interesting how like literal with like knights and sorcery. Visually, it was like the guy with the helm, the great helm, outfit and everything. But I think it was visually nice. Had some good cinematics and compositions. I feel like Star Wars mostly is really like they're really good with visuals. Um, yeah. And like the magic element was nice, and I really like the score in the end credits. I'm not gonna sound mean or anything, that's actually my favorite part, but it's the score in the end credits. But um I guess I like the kind of homages to like Icelandic spell books and kind of the knight armor and everything. So visually I thought it was really nice, and audio wise was good. There was a scene when what is it, the X-wings were flying, and I don't know if it was my TV or what, but they like blurred out. They're flying and I could not see
With the purples.
Yeah, it just like I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Is it motion smoothing? Like, because I have a good TV that I think got best of 2020 TV, but it was just like blurry, and I'm like, oh my god. So that was like one scene where I'm like, oh, when I paused
I
it,
think
it
it's
was
Disney Plus. I think that's
Mhm.
that's the
Mhm.
service.
Oh, okay.
There's a
That's
glitch in the
fair.
Matrix.
There's a
Yeah.
couple of glitches in Disney
Mm.
Plus I kept
Mm.
getting. Like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
that was bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. I'm like, this is not good. But I do agree, like, Ezra Miller's contacts were rough. There were a couple characters' contacts that were rough, and I'm even noticing with other shows like The Witcher and Good Omens, they've adjusted their contacts to make it look more naturalistic. And I was expecting that treatment for this, because it seems like a new trend with contacts these days. And
I
I'm not
need
sure.
them to just CGI eyeballs. I need them to
Yeah.
just CGI some eyeballs because this shit was like
Yeah, because that's what they did with Lars Mikkelsen for Thrawn. They just CGI'd his eyeball.
Oh, that's what was happening?
yeah,
Was
that's
it?
why he looks so good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they should have done that, because I feel like that's what they did with The Witcher. I feel like they probably had contacts on and kind of probably used something like Runway or something that would sync with their eyes to make it look more naturalistic. But they need to do that on some of these characters. I'm like, you're wearing contacts.
I thought they were going for the comic book look, like the cartoon.
Mhm.
That's a cartoon look, the way they look, all but Thrawn. I was like, Thrawn looks hella real. His eyes look hella real.
I will
Everybody
say-
looks like cartoon.
I will say is like hair. I know like CG animated, it's perfect, but it's still kind of weird of how perfect it is on his head. It felt
Mhm.
like it was a wig. I'm like, he's
Mm.
clearly wearing a wig, and it's kind of too pristine. And I can understand like from a military character what they were going for, but that was the only complaint I had was his hair. But
Well,
eyes,
the thing about Thrawn is Thrawn looked old. Thrawn looked like he done been through some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because like the way he looked on the show, like he still looked young and like looked like he worked out all the time and he was on top of his stuff. He got taken to this new galaxy by Ezra, and it done messed him all up. Now he done ate himself to death, and he can barely fit in his little dirty uniform, and all his hair done falling out. And I mean, luckily he is the guy that voiced him, because I mean, as far as that, he's perfect. Like
Thrawn was sending his uniform out to dry clean. He was having all those years he was gone. He didn't have his shit dry clean.
Yep.
I mean,
he got a little naughty somewhere, like cleaning his shit.
Yeah, hit him with turtles beating on his shells.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
can see a lot of people dressing up as like these stormtroopers, especially I don't know if the zombie versions,
Mhm.
probably have zombie
Call them
stuff.
zompers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I do like that gold treatment with like they're missing some of their stuff. I'm curious, like how did they make that? Like how is that? Again, I haven't watched the Clone Wars and Rebels, so it might be explained there.
It's not.
Uh,
These are all new.
No, this is brand new.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's brand
Brand
new.
new
These
stuff.
night troopers. There's some new
For
shit.
Night
sure.
troopers.
Yeah,
The
the
night
night troopers.
Oh,
I still
okay.
call them
Zom
zompers.
troopers.
The
Zompers.
Zom Troopers.
Yeah.
Man.
So Dayla, we've got 8 episodes in this season. What did you think about the overall pacing for the entire season? Too fast, too slow, just right? What did you think about the pacing to get where we started from to where we ended?
I think it definitely matches the Filoni live action arc of slow in the beginning. He wants to do a world build. He wants you to contemplate and feel the majesty of the Jedi-ness and the Force. And then by the time we got to episode 3, for sure 4, 5 was the big punch in the middle. I definitely felt like 8 was so chock full of stuff that it perpetuated it propelled me to want to watch season 2 already. But I like the pacing. I appreciate that we got to live in the pauses. I think yes to all the conversation about Ahsoka and the hands and what she's doing, but I also feel like just watching her come out of her own process of where she is at this age and stage in her life. And so pacing wise, I was really intrigued by where we started with Ahsoka and Sabine and where we landed. I thought their arc was really interesting. I appreciated some of the parallels we got from, them. We see what happens when they separate, when Sabine ends up on the ship on the way to Peridia, and we see what happens in episode 8 when she decides to stay and like the lesson of staying. But that is all perpetuated by the arc that Ahsoka went through to get to a place, not only with her own relationship with her master, Anakin Skywalker, but her own relationship to herself as a master to Sabine. And that whole last little trunklet of scene that we got where it was like, my master is the only one who understood why I made the choices I did. And I'm not going to like acknowledging that she never comes out and like hugs Sabine as much as she does to Ezra. She doesn't lay claim to like all the history between them. It's all this unspoken resolution, and so, but they talk about it, but I guess I also appreciated the pacing because I'm curious about what is the pace of a Jedi story where women are the center. And the relational pace of women versus the relational pace of men versus the relational pace of when it's a man master and a woman apprentice, or what we get with Kanan and his master, where woman master, young man apprentice. And so the spaces between, like, I know it was slow. The first 2 episodes had a lot of pauses, but part of me was like, I'm super excited to imagine like all the stuff between them. Like, what is going on? And why did that happen? So for me, the pacing, like I loved the pacing of Book of Boba Fett, but because I read it as a Maori or a PI paced story, a Polynesian kind of story, right? So for me, Ahsoka is like a different pace because I don't need to see any more of even though she's still part of the Skywalker connection, like I don't need to see the pace of the movies. I'm here for a different kind of Star Wars experience. And I appreciate hearing folks who don't know who don't have as much about, the Clone Wars or Rebels. Cause it's like, isn't that the thing? That's the thing I fell in love with Star Wars about, was I didn't know anything about Luke and Obi-Wan and all them. I just was there for the story I was getting and the pace of it and the look of it and the sound of it. Like the Night Sisters, like I'm, excited to talk about. Yeah, we get to see magic in this way in live action. And just watching them make the sword was really fascinating. So for me, the pacing,
that was dope.
So that was a lot, but I know there's a thing about the slow. I think also because of the pace of our culture, it's like, I'm just gonna not like look at my devices. I'm just gonna slow down and watch this story for a minute. And I'm just gonna be in this place. Sure. So I do appreciate like the Jedi meditation of it,
Okay. Good stuff.
That's a deep like statement right there. Like the concept of the Jedi meditation, like it definitely it definitely had that. And I really appreciate that your perspective on like the female master and Padawan as from different perspective, because the only other two that they ever mentioned, like in the Clone Wars, were the one who was her friend who was the reason that Ahsoka was arrested. The one who turned on her.
Barriss,
yes. Yes. And her master was taken and, you know, tortured. And I mean, they didn't know what happened to her, but ultimately it was revealed. But then Barriss turned. So to see Sabine and Ahsoka, yeah, I like that.
So I guess I'm gonna start some trouble here then. Because in episode 1, we find out that Sabine is Ahsoka's princess. Okay. I thought that this changed the character of Sabine, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I did thought it changed the character of Sabine that we got at the end of Rebels till we meet the first episode in Ahsoka. So I'm gonna start with Chuck. Do you think this was a good choice to make Sabine Ahsoka's apprentice?
I can see her being an apprentice of Ahsoka, but not a Jedi apprentice. Like she could just been the badass Mandalorian who she is of her royal family in this Beskar armor, just whipping people's ass with blasters and her extra weapons as a Mandalorian. To make it seem that she can acquire the Force through practice and diligence is ridiculous to me, because it goes against the whole lore. That's the number one rule of this universe. That's like saying in Harry Potter, any muggle can become a wizard if they practice and be diligent. That's unbelievable. What it says to me is that anybody, it makes me say, why didn't the Jedi just go out there in the middle of the war, just grab up all the small little kids, put them on a camp like a bunch of soccer camp, and whoop them into shape until the best ones rose to the top, then send them over to Europe to play in their national leagues, the Premier League and whatnot, or what Cuba does the baseball for us, you know? Why not just grab all the kids and let them fight to the top, and the top of the top become Jedi? I mean, they could easily done that. There's a lot of orphan kids out here that died in the war. Their parents died in the war. Yeah. Just grab up all those kids.
So, Dan, I see you got your hand. All right, did you have something?
But don't we know from Rebels that when Kanan tried to train Sabine, that he could not reach her essence because she had buried it so deep? So my 3 thoughts are: 1, she is a descendant of Paz Vizsla, the original Mandalorian Jedi. She's in that line. So I think there is a possibility that her Jedi-ness is buried deep within because of the trauma she has survived. I think she's a different person because her whole family died. She's a different person because her Ezra is gone. Whether we're standing for them on the same wolf horse or whether we're just their brother and sister in a platonic way, her whole, just like Anakin went through a journey and became a different human when the things he loved were taken away, so too Sabine. And so I think I appreciated the payoff of the 3rd time's the charm for her finally being able to force move things. I think she had Jedi-ness that we just didn't know. And I am curious about, not that any muggle could be at Hogwarts, but if you're an 8th wizard or you're an 8th witch, don't you deserve a visit from Dumbledore or somebody to help unlock your magic?
Bo-Katan should be able to be a Force user.
But wait.
On Rebels,
use the Force.
On Rebels, Kanan Jarrus, when he was training her, he said explicitly that everyone has the Force energy. Force is the energy. Everyone has the Force energy. But most people, they cannot unlock it. And which is one of the reasons why the Jedis take little kids, because it's easier for them to access, things like that.
They don't take every
Most are locked up. It's locked up. And he said about her specifically, he said it's in there. He said, but she's blocking it. She is blocked. And he said, until until you get past it. Now, he never came out and explicitly said she has the Force, but he said, whatever it is, he said specifically in that series, she is blocked. And until she can get past that block, we don't know the potential that she has. And then in episode 8, they gave you almost a payoff to that, where the reason why Ahsoka left her. She said because she thought that Sabine was training for the wrong reason, that after the purge of Mandalore and losing her whole family and all the trauma she has already endured, including creating a weapon that was killing the people in Mandalore because it was targeting their Beskar armor, all the stuff that she's already endured, that she, again, that call back to her relationship with Anakin, she's like, I done been with a dude who, because of these trauma things, and I walked away from him and he turned to the dark side. I cannot knowingly train a girl and be with a girl who might be training for the wrong reasons, might go and fall to the dark side. So I'm not even gonna set myself up for that though.
But I think also it has to do with, like, I agree with everything both of you said. I do think in some ways the fault lies with holding on to that reveal about what happened to Mandalore until the 8th episode. Because yes, Kanan did say that about her. And I feel like because she's related to Paz Vizsla in Rebels, that's why she could maneuver the Darksaber, not just turn it on, but maneuver it. Like she struggled with it, but she worked for her. And it didn't do that for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the whole concept of like it had to be one, it couldn't just be gifted, but like she earned it. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't think if she didn't have something from the Force. Now, I was with you in those first 2 episodes. I was like, how she just automatically got the Force now? She a Padawan? But the more I think about it, like, the more I feel like she found a way to unblock her. Because now that we know what happened on Mandalore, it wasn't just about her. Honestly, I don't even think it was necessarily about Ezra. It was about, I need to save one of my family. I need to save one of them. And when it came down to her life or her understanding, like what her purpose, that's when she saw her part. That's when everything opened. Because now it's like, so either I'm going to let go and die, or I'm going to let all this shit go. And in that moment, when she let all of that go, that's how she was able to unlock herself and open herself up to the Force. And all of that was that Kanan had talked about, all of that was revealed to her. Not just to us, but to her. So that's why I feel like it was there, but she was so busy being a warrior, just fighting. And I think ultimately she was fighting herself for all the things that she went through. But I enjoyed this last episode, other than the fact like y'all really should have told us that shit earlier, but that was how I felt.
And I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to disagree with everything that every single one of you all just said. And the reason it is because you literally have kids that are losing their parents and dying, and people are able to tap in and say, hey, that kid is special. Ezra literally lost his parents. There's nothing blocking them more than that. Secondly, the Force doesn't necessarily be hereditary. We don't know how this shit works. It hops from person to person with absolutely no reason. And the reason that I'm saying that is because if the Force was hereditary, Palpatine would have hooked up with Asajj Ventress. They would have had a super powerful...
Palpatine wanted her dead. What are you talking about? He's the one
that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
If it's hereditary.
If it's hereditary.
Palpatine would have had kids with her and had a super army of badass Force users that nobody...
How do you know he didn't? Because he did have a son, and the son did have power. Yeah, he did. And then he had Rey was his granddaughter.
He took over somebody's body after he was thrown down the chute, and his essence went into somebody's body first. That's how they get the kid.
No, hold on.
What?
Hold on.
That's how he got the son.
children.
but you saw
Where
like
did you get that
three.
from?
You saw
That's from the
3
books.
scenes.
Go look
in
at
the
don't.
book.
Wait,
don't
the
look-
books. I
don't
thought the
look
books
it up.
weren't
Don't-
canon.
The books aren't.
The
canon.
books aren't canon.
Yeah.
This book is canon. This is after the
I'm
movie.
not talking about legends. I'm talking about the canon book.
Okay,
book.
but I'm not. We're in terms of the movies, which is all that most people have in terms of
No matter what they do, it doesn't matter because they only
But
did
you-
it.
All
but
canon.
okay, well then if it's
All
not, if
canon.
it doesn't matter. But here's the thing: you
Which-
can say it's canon, but if
You broke
everybody
canon.
doesn't know what you're talking about, it's just words. You
Well,
see what I'm
hey, I
saying?
know-
Like
I
all we
know-
can
I
go
know-
on is based on the movie.
Definition
Yeah,
of
and the thing
canon
is-
is
the thing
canon.
is,
Which-
I-
which
You
books
can't
know
were
what
say,
he's
these?
talking
I-
about.
because they don't know about
That's
it.
like saying
But-
people that didn't watch Clone Wars or Rebels. It doesn't matter what those people that watch that mean.
They didn't watch
Right,
it.
but that's why they
Because-
created this show that allow people to come in
Which book?
and
Which
and
book was
retcon.
this?
understand.
and
Which book
retcon
was
the
this?
Force.
Here's the thing, though, Randy. In those books, in the book that you're talking about, the thing
Okay.
is, the book is written from a certain perspective, and it's still. It didn't tell you about Palpatine going out on when he was just Senator Palpatine or whatever. It didn't tell you about him going out on dates and what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is Palpatine
bringing a
is
girl on the
aware
hotline
that the Force is not hereditary. The Force falls where the Force wants to, and nobody understands it.
Yeah, okay. Just like
because it's
nobody
energy.
understands these
Sure.
books.
Wait,
I
which
mean,
which
but
first
it's-
which books which book was
people
this?
understand the book. It's canon.
I don't know. You can't say it can't. Show me the list.
Which book was it though?
We can show you the list of canon books. J.J. Abrams literally came in and was like, all that old stuff
Why
is
are you getting so loud?
huh?
You getting real emotional. Like,
Books that are
But the
not-
books are because you said the books are canon and canon doesn't
I
matter.
didn't say you said they're canon. I said I don't know anything about this. So you can say it's canon, but that doesn't have any reference for me.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about. So therefore, it's not canon to me because you've
the
not
only
really
reason I brought
explained
up
it.
because you all brought it up about Palpatine and having a son and him hooking up.
No,
So
you
like,
brought
oh,
it up.
he didn't. No, I didn't. I
He
said
said
Palpatine
he
would
would mess. He would actually mate with Asajj Ventress.
You all
Right.
said
You brought up Palpatine. Nobody else brought up
But,
Palpatine.
but which
I
book
said,
is
you all
this?
brought up that Palpatine had kids, and how do we know he didn't? He had a
we
son.
didn't.
Yes,
We
y'all
didn't.
did.
No, we said Paz Vizsla.
No, you said Palpatine.
talking about
had a
Palpatine.
son.
No.
Randy, this is what
After-
happened. Let me hold on.
After we were talking
Randy,
about
what you
Paz
said-
Vizsla.
Randy said this: if the Force was hereditary, Palpatine would have actually got Asajj Ventress as his apprentice and made babies with her.
Right. That's what I'm
That
saying.
way
Randy
they would
brought
have
up
a bunch of
Palpatine.
because Palpatine would have done that.
Right.
A bunch of badass Force users. She was a Darth Maul witch that turned into a Sith Lord. And she was like one of the most powerful witches. So why
Yes.
wouldn't Palpatine take her and make babies with her if it was all hereditary?
Yeah, they
He-
don't understand how the
He's
Force.
the most powerful Sith user that we know of.
Okay, nobody's saying that it's completely hereditary for everybody. Just like friggin' sickle cell anemia might be in somebody's family.
I would've
line,
took
doesn't
her
mean
and
you
made
can
like
have
100
it.
I would took
Any-
her.
like we're just talking about it could be hereditary in this people's line, and it doesn't have to be hereditary in the other muggle line. It's just,
That's
that's how
what we're
heredity
saying.
works.
That's what we're saying. It's random. Randy's saying it's
Right.
random.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So her being
Yeah.
Hermione had magic.
So
and both
he's
her parents
saying
were Muggles.
her being Paz Vizsla's line
Exactly.
does not
so it
necessitate
means that
she
she
would have
would
the
have
Force.
any Force.
Agreed.
She had zero
Agreed. But it
force.
also doesn't mean it's not.
I-
So
I
we're
just-
saying
you
that the
have to
Force can be
understand
blocked?
both
Yeah,
sides.
So we're saying the Force can
Both
be
sides
blocked.
are
maybe?
possible.
So we're saying
Well,
the Force can be
years
We
blocked.
are all completely off topic, but like both sides
No, this is a
are
good question.
visible.
I
Both
kinda
sides, both sides are equally possible. Both arguments are equally
So,
possible.
The Force can be blocked. Let's say the Force can be blocked. Let's say
Yes.
why didn't the Sith Lords nor the Jedi nor other Force users go seek children that may have blocked Force?
Well, because a lot of times with the Sith, they don't see any versions of the
Before
light.
even
Like with
before the
Ken-
Rule of Two. Even before the
Right,
rule.
but I mean, I'm just saying, like, if they're looking for like right now, they're like, okay, get rid of this one. He doesn't have anything.
Mhm.
If you're looking at this one, then he doesn't have anything. Take this one. I think I'm sensing something.
Well-
but
No, that's just
go ahead,
like
Dayla. Go ahead,
that's-
Dayla.
Well, and that's just like, I mean, this whole argument is also everything that Huyang says to Sabine in that like second or third episode where he's like, you are the least likely person to ever be a Jedi based on the thousands of folks that I know. But that don't mean it couldn't be true for her. Like, I mean, I think I hear the fundamental difference on either side of the argument. And I agree with Courtney, like either could be true. And what we're arguing about is what is true. Right?
Yes.
So like on either side, the Sith and the Jedi took children who they had identified with, Force abilities, who they identified these children have the Force. And it's evident that they have the Force. Here's the thing. If a burglar is going to rob a house, he's on the street, there's this house that's got, a locked gate on it. This one has a sign that says we got ADT security. Another one has got an open window. I'm going the one with the open window because it's the easiest one I know that I can go in and get what I want. And that's why you pick the children that have been identified as Force. You don't try to, I mean, there's probably good shit in the house with the locked door. Probably good shit in the one that's got a sign. They might not even really have an alarm on their house, but they got a sign in the yard. I don't fuck with that house because it's going to be a hassle. They might have an alarm. They might not. They might not have anything in there that's worth even protecting. So you go to the easiest thing. And the kids who have been identified, they could spend years. Look how long it took for Sabine, for what, all intents and purposes. We can argue all day on whether we like it or whether, but it did happen and it's now canon that Sabine now has the Force. So that shit is over with. So, so we can argue all day on whether we like it, or like how it happened, or like how it came about. The thing was, she was blocked, and for whatever reason, it became unblocked. She had her own psychosomatic therapy session, and she worked it out, or whatever. It's over with. The Jedi and the Sith, for that matter, they're not going to take somebody in and spend years on them. They didn't want to take Anakin. Kanan barely didn't want to train Ezra for real. Because you might never get past that block. You might never open up and you didn't waste all this time. And you'll find out somebody who's pretty good at swinging a light sword around.
I mean, it's like even just everyday talent. It's easier to train someone who has visible talent versus someone that doesn't. But I guess the vibe I've gotten from Star Wars and Force was kind of similar to Dragon Ball Z, how when they make the Spirit Bomb, everyone has that like essence, but you have more visible people.
So here was the point that I was trying to make earlier in terms of books versus movies and TV shows. Like in terms of Game of Thrones, the books in Game of Thrones, Lady Stoneheart, what's her name? Stark. Catelyn Stark. Catelyn Stark in the books does not die.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Sorry if you're about to read that book. She does not. She has a pivotal role within the books. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there are things that happen in Game of Thrones, the books, that do not happen in the TV series. They're equally canon. Like Game of Thrones TV series, that's that lane. I can hate it. I can be mad at it. But let me finish my statement. Just let me finish. I cannot like that. And I can still have the books and respect what happens in the book and see them as two separate entities. They are two separate versions of someone's story. Like what happens in the Star Wars filmography is separate in some ways. And Randy, you can keep shaking your head, but in some ways, in terms of the TV, that's why like they spent those whole first 2 episodes updating all the people that didn't watch Rebels, that didn't watch the Clone Wars. This is all you need to. We're giving you what we think you need to know in terms of the history, because there was this thing that happened at the end of episode 8 with the bird. People who didn't watch the Clone Wars aren't gonna know who that bird was. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you did, then you might. But that's all part of their canon of this TV show. Now you can say the whole entire Star Wars like history of Star Wars. I mean, there was no Kylo Ren. They had twins, like Han and Leia had twins. Where they at? But you don't have to
That's
like
freaky.
it, but that's where they are.
They had
Those were
3 kids.
removed. They were
Yeah,
part
he
of
put those in legend.
They're
He put
not
those in
canon.
legend.
They're
Yeah.
Wait,
not
So,
canon.
Wait,
so one thing that J.J. Abrams did do with Favreau was divide canon and legend. And they
Yeah.
said the story's continuation across all mediums. What we define as canon is canon. What's legends is legends.
Well,
But that-
y'all are
but
gonna have
Dave
to like
Filoni
nobody has
Thrones
listed
is
this
not a book.
canon.
The television shows of Game of Thrones and the books exist in 2 different universes. They're
Yeah.
not tied at all. They're not
Exactly.
tied at all. That's like
But
the
this
MCU and the
and the,
comic books.
I still need a list of this what you say is canon and where this is.
There is a
They're
list of
out
books
there.
that
It's
are
not
canon.
that's not
I'm gonna.
I don't have time right now because I'm on the show and I can't give it to you. But like Star Wars fans, go out there and look at the list of canon books that tie in with the books, the comics, and the movies and the television shows. It's
Yeah,
not
like even this whole thing about Thrawn is pulled directly from Heir to the Empire. You know about
Yeah.
Thrawn.
yeah.
And the
That
one
book
thing
I know
about
about.
the one thing about Filoni is a huge Legends or extended Star Wars universe fan, and that's why he's been trying to pull as many things as he can out of Legends into live action, just so it exists and it is now canon. So that's why he's doing a lot of the stuff that he's doing.
But can we talk about Anakin now? Can we talk about like something other than this?
We can
How
move
about
forward.
how Anakin at the end of episode 8? How about when Anakin showed up at the end of Return of the Jedi? He showed up in his light robes. His robes were light color, like he had returned. He was finally the chosen one. He had returned to the light side. He showed up in his dark robes in this. Did y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed up in his dark robes, like what she had saw him in mostly. He showed up in his dark robes.
That's what he wore mostly in Clone Wars.
Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is he real then, or is it still like what Ahsoka?
He's a Force ghost.
He's a Force ghost.
Yeah,
maybe
but
they
I
can have wardrobe changes.
But I think it's just like anything, like your Force ghost or whatever. He shows up in a way that's recognizable to her. So even though he's aged a bit, he showed up as what she remembers. So even though he's returned to the light side, I mean, he's clearly not Sith. I mean, he's not burnt the hell up and missing limbs and shit. So
He still had his hand too.
Let me ask real quick: does Anakin deserve like a positive Force ghost?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Kill innocent kids.
I mean, he killed Palpatine.
He killed kids though too.
Is that enough of redemption? He literally went into a temple with people that he knew and grew up with. Little kids and murdered all of them.
His lightsaber is called the baby killer.
Yeah.
Oh no. Is it?
No.
Yeah, they call it the baby killer.
Who called the baby killer?
Everybody at Disney calls it the baby killer.
I was
This one is
gonna
the
say,
baby killer.
Yeah.
Does he
Baby
even
killer.
deserve like a positive light side Force ghost? I'm just asking.
I just feel like the whole reason why like they showed him up and like I mean I know it's connected to the other shows and everything, but I feel like a lot of like these kind of reappearance of Hayden Christensen is kind of just a revival of like the episodes 1 and 3 and kind of filling in fan service, even though it's a part of it's a part of those shows. It just feels more like part fan service. Let's see them playing the role again. So even if he deserves or doesn't deserve it, I just feel like his appearance is, hey, I want to see Hayden Christensen again. He's back.
Yeah.
I think here's the thing that's super interesting is because and again to Catherine's point about the fan service, Hayden Christensen got shit on, damn near as much as your guy that played Jar Jar.
Jar Jar.
Yep.
I mean that dude, tried to commit suicide about how he got shit on for
Even the younger
Jar Jar.
version.
I think
Yeah.
Christian Haydenson tried to commit suicide too.
Mhm.
And I know the
Because he
kid
couldn't
that
get
played
an actor for lack
and
of
the kid that played young Anakin, I don't think he did anything
He
ever
went to
again.
jail.
again.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
got arrested.
Yep, I mean because he got shit on for his wooden performance of Anakin, young Anakin. Yeah, I mean like grown ass people tore his ass up, and he folded. And Hayden took a lot of shit for that too. But I think if you talk about, and I know me and Chuck have talked about this before, about the parallels, the story that the Empire is basically the Nazis. That means, to Randy's point that you just made, is redemption possible, or should we even celebrate the redemption of Anakin? Because that's like saying, can you redeem a Nazi, like a war criminal who did that type shit? Like in real life, would we
I guess
do
he
that?
was.
Like right now, we wouldn't even redeem R. Kelly. So a damn Nazi war criminal? Like,
Yeah, I guess like from the older, like the OG
Valid
Star
point.
Wars, they do show, Anakin, older, like whatever Anakin there. But yeah, no, I don't think it should be redeemed. But I guess they're just like, again, echoing fan service stuff from like the OGs in the first three. So
I mean, if you go strictly by the movies, you know, to them. I mean, and probably the only reason that it's even a thought is because of seeing Anakin and what he was like before he turned, not in the movies, but in the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars
Mhm.
made him actually a likable character.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Made a whole character. He was a
Yeah.
whole character. We
Yeah.
got fragments of him in episode 2, and then remnants of him in episode 3 for Revenge of the Sith, and everything in between. Because like I didn't care about after episode 3, I was like, okay, I'm still for Darth Vader, because like, I mean, he's just as evil as he needs to be, but he is that villain. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until the Clone Wars that I really got any idea, any in-depth understanding of Anakin Skywalker. And yeah, I loved him, but I loved him through the eyes of Ahsoka. Because it was through his training of her and their relationship and his connection to her. Because there were only bits and pieces of the Padme story with him. Ahsoka was his person. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That was the one that broke him, is
That's
when
what
she
broke
left
him.
the order. When she left the order, that's when the full crack, that was the San Andreas fault, in my opinion. And
Well,
so
'cause-
like, it really shook him in such a way that like, even though she didn't die, it was a loss that he couldn't like come to grips with. And
she
so
came back and did it again.
well, she came back, and like at that point it was already too late. You know what I mean? Like he was still hoping she was going to come back, but I think he had also accepted the loss of her. So in terms of like this idea of can he be redeemed, the answer is no, because what he did, I mean, he killed kids. You can't really come back from that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he killed a lot of people. You're right. But I don't necessarily think, based on the conversation that they had in the World Between Worlds, when Ahsoka actually flipped and turned on him, and he's like, you want to do this? You want to do this now? Do you know what I mean? It was his understanding and the like, not necessarily like the remorse, but the understanding of what he did and what his actions did to her. I don't think he was looking for redemption. I think he was balanced within the Force. Now we look at it as in terms of like a redemption. He made peace with himself. So it's not about how we see him in this story, in my opinion. It's about the concept of this character finding balance and peace within his actions and life within the Force. And the Force it's just like when you had the brother and the sister. The Force didn't cut out the negative in favor of the light, and it didn't cut out the light in favor of the negative. The Force is balanced. And Anakin was a perfect representation of that balance. So his Force ghost it just was.
Yeah, it was
They are
both.
the balance for the Emperor and Anakin. Like George Lucas talked about, that was his original intentions, why he had twins. So they were meant to balance out the Emperor and Vader's turn to the dark side. So like you said, we don't understand the Force, but it seeks balance at all times.
You know, and I think it's just interesting that I literally, and I'm completely dazed and confused. And I completely acknowledge this as I make this statement. And I know how stupid it is that I never picked up on it. But again, I didn't watch the Clone Wars right away. It took me, I just did it recently. Never dawned on me that he has now become, given that the father and the daughter, or like the father and the daughter are dead. The only one I think that was still living was the son, technically. But Anakin was supposed to stay and be the one who was the caretaker, right? So ultimately now Anakin was in our iteration, he did become the caretaker. He became the father of the twins now, of the father and the daughter. And
that they were going to get a callback to them in Ahsoka. A lot of people thought that we were going to get that.
Well, we saw
Yeah.
the father. We saw the father at the end of episode 8.
We saw the father and the son at the end of episode 8.
And we saw Morai, which is the daughter, right?
And we saw the daughter as the bird.
Her statue was destroyed. And then the bird showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I feel about the redemption in terms of like, I think it was just balanced.
Let's talk about that time where Anakin and Ahsoka are in between worlds. If it was her consciousness or if it was an actual place we went to, because nobody really knows. And he's like, carry on my legacy. And Anakin's legacy was destruction. That's why he was like, in my eyes, it was like fight or die. Fight or die. And they got into it. And when she had the knife up, when she had the lightsaber up against him, her eyes turned red and went back. And she says, I choose to live, and lets him go. But that he's like, you got to continue on what I started. And it was going to the dark side. Because I'm like my master before me. I continue what he started and moved it forward. You have to do the same thing. And she refused to do it.
Which master is he talking about? Is he talking about Obi-Wan or is he talking about Palpatine?
He said Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
He said Obi-Wan.
Because he specifically said that I think one of the things that was so excellent about episode 5, which I told Chuck this, we had a discussion, I told Chuck this. I said that what live action did that was better than animation was the young actress who played the young Ahsoka. It showed you just how young she was when she started off as a Padawan. Like in animation, you didn't really get that. I mean, she looked small and she looked young. She sounded young, but in live action, you could tell that's a baby. She is a child out here, and he is training her as a warrior. And he even said, it's too bad because when I was being trained, it was a time of peace, and I was trained as a peacekeeper. I was training in time of peace. He said, but then things happen, and I learned to survive, and that's what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you to be a soldier, and I'm teaching you to survive. And like when she stopped and she held the hand of that clone trooper, and just there was death everywhere. Like you could see in her face, is like, I didn't sign up for this shit. Like this is heavy. I mean, you can think about you take any middle school child and put them into some shit like that, and they will fold like a tent in a hurricane. And and she just, it's a lot of heaviness. And then Balin was so good at getting under her skin.
He was so good. Yeah, he was so good.
And he was like, saying the legacy, on top of the fact that Balin knew that Anakin became Darth Vader. And you got to think about it. In the Jedi Order and in the Empire, very few people knew that shit.
Few people knew that shit.
Like you can count them on one hand, the people that knew that. Very few people knew that. But Balin, being in the Jedi Order, and we don't really have a sense of how old he is, or like how old he was when Anakin turned, when he went to
because I think he said he was in his like 20s.
Yeah, he said he was young.
I think he was like a young knight. So I mean, he definitely wasn't like Reva, where he struck her ass down.
Right, or Kanan.
But he knew that Anakin became that, and he said, Lord, you and your master's legacy of death and destruction. And part of that, to me too, episode 5 was, so when we saw the world between worlds before, it was a physical place that you had to enter. So she fell off the cliff, she's in the water, and she's in the world between worlds. So she's essentially died. So is that because of the light force that was in her from Morai? or did she actually go in there? Or like Chuck was saying, is that her subconscious? So she's entered there and she has a crossroads. She has a dilemma on, is she going to live or die, pretty much.
Well, yeah, I think that like in the first time they went to the world between worlds, when Ezra pulled her through, and then she chose to go back. And so in this one, I feel like Anakin sent her back. I think it actually happened. Anakin, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that the Force Ghost, like that he would have pulled her through, but if anybody was going to defy the rules and break them, it would be Anakin. Even as a Force Ghost, he's still breaking the rules, and I think that shit's hilarious. If he pulled her through in the world between worlds, so we can finish, I never got to finish her training, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this right quick. You know what I mean? And then send her back after she made her choice. You know what I mean? Like I think I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, Rodney in our chat, our technical producer, our advisor in the back, he said that he also saw it as her wrestling with reconciling with what Anakin became and how she didn't want to go that route. And I agree.
Yeah,
I agree as well. I felt that was one of the things that after when she chose to live, that her switching from to Gandalf the White, that was one of the things that she carried with her, the guilt of her walking away from Anakin. Almost a sort of guilt, like if I stayed, maybe
he wouldn't
have turned. It's kind of like you're saying, that being that San Andreas fault that kind of broke him when she walked away. You can't control, you can't stop what people are going to do, what they're not going to do, but it doesn't stop her from carrying the guilt of maybe if I stayed. Like, he wanted me to come back, he believed in me, he just wanted, but the rest of the Jedis, the rest of them treated me like shit, I'm out. But it hurt him so much personally. Maybe if I stayed, he wouldn't have went.
Vader did tell her. Vader was like, I killed Anakin. You ain't had nothing to do with this. I killed that dude because he was weak.
He was, yeah.
Right.
Well,
but that is. Oh no, go ahead. But
I was just gonna say that I think that I originally thought that World Between Worlds was Ahsoka's subconscious. I think it's emerging because little Jason could stand on the cliff of the Night Mother Stonehenge and hear them in the and I'm still curious. Do you think Hera heard it too, or do you think she just relaxed and listened and was like, I trust my kid because you're like your dad?
Yeah, I think
I think she sensed there was something like that feeling, but I don't think she could hear anything.
Yeah.
I think that spent enough time with her dude Kanan to know that A, that shit happens, and B, if he said it's going on, then it's probably going on.
I think that when the little
to believe it, right? Because
when old dude, and I can't remember his name, what his name in this is, but the X-wing pilot,
Carson Teva.
Carson Teva, when he was talking to Gu Yang, and he's like, hey, why we listen to this kid? He's like, no, his father was the Jedi, Kanan Jarrus. Like, no, that boy is special. He's like, oh, okay.
He's like,
gotcha.
So, a completely non-related topic. Does Kylo kill Jason?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Kylo, he kills all the kids in Luke's school.
And I'm sure that Jason, because not only that, you know what I'm saying, and once again, we talk about legends and what's canon. So in Legends, Han and Leia had 3 kids. They had a set of twins, Jason Solo and Jaina Solo. And
wasn't it Ben Solo? Wasn't that?
No.
Anakin.
Luke and Mara Jade had Ben Skywalker. And that's why they put Ben Solo in there to kind of pull him back in a way, you know what I'm saying, their kid. But they had Anakin Solo, they had the twins, Jason and Jaina Solo. And Jason in the Legends, he fell to the dark side. And he was so goddamn evil when he fell to the dark side and became Darth Cadius or something like that, that he's the one that killed Luke's wife, Mara Jade, and he tortured the shit out of his nephew, Ben.
Cousin.
Yeah, and then he was eventually killed by his twin sister Dana. So
That's the legend.
That's the legend. All right.
that is legend.
What else you guys want to talk about? We need to start.
I'd love
The
to talk
witches?
about the witches.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to say that because I thought that Morgan Elsbeth had a really interesting arc. I thought that she did like the way, because if initially when I saw her in The Mandalorian, that battle with the Beskar spear was awesome. You know, like she seemed like such an awesome character. So when they brought her back, I was like, oh, okay. But bringing her back as a descendant of Dathomir, that was awesome. And that the scene today, even though Thrawn sent her up like a sacrificial lamb because she was asking too many damn questions,
And that's what it
like
was.
I ain't got time for all these questions. Can you make her a shadow friend so she can take care of some shit? Because I gotta go.
Yep.
Yeah, she's not following orders no more. She's out here asking questions and questioning them out. Authority? No, hell no.
Daylight, were you gonna say something? You were gonna say something about the witches, man?
I appreciated the actors who played the witches and just kind of their world. Like Claudia Black plays I forget the name of the center witch, Clotho. But I appreciated seeing the witches. I agree. Morgan's arc was really dope. I was worried. On Pod Squadron, we were trying to, what's our best guess for what would happen? And I was like, I think Morgan's about to die. Because there's no more room for her in the narrative, the way that they've constructed it.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna die too.
I like how the witches in this show are kind of like the three fates from like Hercules.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And does Thrawn kill the witches when it gets back in the universe?
No, because if you look at the way that ended, like all that cargo had to be dead bodies.
Those are all dead bodies. Those are all dead.
Right?
Those are witches, right?
And they're taking them. So
Oh, is that what it is?
The witches.
Yeah.
They're witches.
Which is a Clone Wars episode, right? Like, isn't there an army of the dead that gets risen?
Yes.
Yes.
But they put them in those pods on Dathomir.
Yes, because
that's where they
Palpatine
went.
goes and kills all the witches.
Come back another time, right? Where they try to raid.
Yeah. He's like, yo, y'all can't have this.
So is that the movie?
No, that's on the Clone Wars.
No, but I'm saying in the live action,
coming back.
Is this how we restore balance with somehow Palpatine returned? You know what I mean? Like,
maybe this is it. But I'm thinking this, right? Since we can unblock the Force in people, the witches could definitely unblock the Force in everybody and turn everybody Sith, because
but that's the thing, though. They're not interested in that.
Of the Warlocks. We seen what they did. We saw what happened with Darth Maul and Savage Opress. It was the witches that made Savage Opress.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. The witches are, coming from Peridia and all that the galaxy. They thousands of years. They're not interested in Sith or Jedi. Sith or Jedi are basically two religions. They're not interested in shit. They interested in what they got going on, and they mystical, magical night system shit.
They're working with Thrawn. They're working with Thrawn.
But
they were going to get off that planet.
The end. Yeah, they got out of that galaxy and got back to their home world.
And a lot of the Star Wars Force creatures aren't interested in Sith or Jedi. Like Bendu was like,
Bendu's not neither.
Yeah.
Then where was Bendu this whole entire time?
Bendu didn't give it, but to your point,
season
he
2.
He was like at his home, but he was at his house. He's like, I want all y'all off my planet.
Exactly.
I don't care about
That's
the Jedi.
Lothal.
I don't care about the rebels.
That's Lothal. Yeah.
He was like, he was like, I don't want y'all here. Can y'all go?
Get off my porch. Keep it down. Y'all making all this damn noise.
Yeah.
Season 2.
But we never talked about Balin's mission, what his mission is. I thought his mission was to reset everything. Like I'm tired of all this. It's going to hit reset.
Now here's what's really interesting though, because with Balin, with Ray Stevenson no longer being with us, like a lot of the scenes that he was actually in, they cut it just to kind of make the story fit, because there was a lot more that they had for him to do, and they had to cut it. So now,
I was wondering because you think that his character is done, they made it seem like he was just on this like vision quest to finish his part, and then just kind of like stay and
The,
like
the only
meditate
thing
and
that
shit?
I think that they could do is if they had shot any scenes of him kind of on this quest or completing this quest or whatever, that they'll use that in another season, some posthumous, reel that they have of him. But from what I hear, there's no plans on recasting him, and I don't really know how they're gonna make that work, whatever his mission was. Because I'm kind of with Chuck, like that he was looking for some. I almost kind of think like he knew about like the father and the brother Mortis, and and that's why they kind of alluded to that at the end that he was looking for them, and he was like, "No, we're gonna reset this whole thing. Like I'm sick of this.
I'm sick of it."
And he says that.
War.
He
Yeah,
says it.
it's war on war. All
Right.
the time. Even in
like-
time of peace, we're at war.
Right.
Like Rodney's saying that he's being called by something, and the prevailing theory online,
Is
and
the
of
sun?
course everyone that is something even worse.
Absalom.
That's Absalom, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Absalom
what?
she is a Sith that is probably one of the most powerful Siths that ever existed, and she does have that old famous power in herself to wipe everything out. And I can remember she was like banished to another galaxy or some old shit because, going to a new galaxy is not something that's new to Star Wars. If you go back to Old Republic with Vitiate, and he had a whole nother empire and a whole nother galaxy or whatever. I mean, that's a whole different
like
thing. But
something else I was interesting too was that, I figured that Ahsoka would stay. She would fight Balin, and she'd be
I thought
stuck
she was
there.
gonna die.
And
I thought Balin
Sabine
was gonna
and
die.
Ezra would have left together.
I thought Ahsoka
They're
was gonna die. I thought that they were gonna show us how Ahsoka was going to, like, this is how we
I thought they're going to leave her in another
complete her
universe.
journey.
They're going to leave her in another galaxy, and we never have to deal with Ahsoka again. That's a good way to clean her and not kill her.
Not
We
in
don't-
the
or
last.
she went in the last sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we put her in another galaxy. We don't have to worry about her ever again unless we want to pull her out the closet because everybody loves her.
Yeah.
You don't have to kill her.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. I guess they're going to put her and Sabine in that galaxy now. And so when they come back, Sabine would be a even more badass Jedi because she could block blasters with the lightsaber after one day of learning the Force, So she is totally badass, apparently. And she can get force choked. She can be choked by a guard and reach and grab the saber. That's like 10 feet away. No, Jedi normally can't do that, but I guess Ray can use lightning, so I guess they can make anything happen.
Ray can pull ships out
I'm
the
a
damn
mogul.
air.
Yeah, Ray can pull a ship down.
Then Ray can heal.
Ray pulls
can
ships
heal.
out the damn air before
They break
Darth
so many
Vader
of
there.
the
Time travel. She can heal. Go to
Kind of
different.
reminds me of
And Carrie Fisher can live in outer space.
yeah, and
Mary
breathe.
Poppins.
Oh, right. She can force time. They can force time. They can force call each other.
Yeah.
At least Ahsoka had to wear a spacesuit, right?
Yeah,
She
at least
did.
Ahsoka
Yeah,
wear-
she did. She did have to wear.
and she's the most badass force user we've ever seen. Like she actually went toe to toe with Anakin a number of times.
Mhm.
I think I
She
agree.
did.
Apparently, she ain't got shit on Leia.
But
mean,
I like that in terms of Hera. I liked the scene in the courtroom, but I do feel like they misused Hera. I do feel like Hera spent a lot of time talking and just standing around. I don't know if it's because like Mary Elizabeth Winstead just didn't have any choreography bones in her body and was unable to like lift a blaster. I don't really know, but I was really disappointed. I know she's a pilot, but they didn't even give her a chance to be a pilot.
She got a cold ass little movie on Netflix where she was like an assassin who was poisoned. She's killing shit out of everybody.
But
Well, they
she's
had her out
hurting
there
Scott
with
Pilgrim.
inside of
She's
the spaceship.
It's also
Oh, you
Bruce
mean Mary
Wayne.
Elizabeth
Zeb.
Winstead?
Yeah.
Where the hell is Zeb?
That's what my
Yeah,
friend.
where
Yeah,
is
there's
Zeb?
another guy that
Who
was
is
talking about
Zeb?
like Zeb.
Carson
Zeb-
Tevin
Zeb-
knows Zeb.
They couldn't afford
Zeb
him.
is training or something shit.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
what
he's
because they
training
said
and
they said
train-
it that
they did.
they
They
said
made-
it they said that he was training new recruits or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And you trying to tell me
can't
when
tell me Zeb
Ahsoka,
wouldn't come back.
Sabine, and Harris say we're gonna hop on this plane, we're gonna hop on this jet. He's not gonna jump in. With
And
Chopper would have went to go get him.
For sure. And
Go
he knows
get Ezra
Carson
right
Teva.
now, Zeb. Let's go.
Right.
So
nobody calls them.
for showing up for Ezra.
And
Mhm.
why they named the show Ahsoka? They should call it Star Wars Rebels live action.
all right, so
Like,
here's
Or
Here's the
season 6.
Here,
Star
let me
Wars,
tell
or Rebel season 5, right? Because they have 4 seasons.
Because all they
five?
did is show Ahsoka like this.
Oh my gosh.
All right, guys. Let's,
Um,
Let me
let's
hold on. Let me
relate
throw
this
two
to
things out there. One, that I'm super surprised that Sabine didn't get off the planet with Ezra,
Yeah.
because I think and that's how you know that they have to do an Ahsoka season 2 before they do this movie, because Sabine has to get off the planet. Sabine is the tie-in. She is the linchpin on Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian and all that old shit. Remember her whole reasoning was the purge of Mandalore, and Bo-Katan is, getting the band back together and shit. Sabine is the tie to all of that. Also, the one person
She's a Jedi.
about in any of this, huh?
She's not
The one person,
Jedi.
well, and not only that, the Darksaber's gone. So
Yeah.
some
Well, the
different-
Darksaber was designed for indie Mandalorian that held it, that could wield it, is the king or the queen.
Yeah. So I mean, but she's rocking around with her own lightsaber. So
her own lightsaber.
So,
she-
She walking around with Ezra's lightsaber. She needs to make one of her own.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that she's
I didn't see-
Two different people said it was hers. Hu Yang and Ezra both said to her, "This is
Oh,
your
yeah.
lightsaber."
They
You
did,
altered
but
it.
Yeah, but she never made
no,
her
no.
own. She never crafted her own with her own
Exactly. I
stone.
think that that's something that she needs to do as a rite of passage. I'm not saying it's not hers to wield right now.
But-
I'm just saying
but we
the
don't-
But if you look
desire
at-
should.
but if you look at-
Galaxy, they have a mine full of kyber crystals, and her
Boy,
Yang are gonna make her a double one with a blaster on it and a ripcord.
Ugh.
Like a shotgun sword
But-
thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna
Have a
pop out.
bazooka.
It's gonna pop out of her forearm armor.
But
Forearm.
I actually,
It's
to
the
Rakai, to
table.
your point, I'm kind of glad that she didn't go with Ezra. I think it's interesting that Ezra made it back. He kind of like went back in the same way that he left. So I thought,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
kind of fun.
That's funny.
And 2, it showed that she learned a lesson. It learned that she was actually starting to listen to Hu Yang. Like Hu Yang from the beginning of this series, he's been saying, you two should stay together. If you stay together, then you'll be okay.
You'll learn
And they had been
Force.
separating from the beginning. They separated off camera. They separated when,
Mhm.
Ahsoka
Fighting in the
told her, you know what I
woods.
mean? Like, exactly. Ahsoka told her to stay on the ship. She went back, got fucked up, almost died.
Right.
Then she came back, they're fighting in the woods, and then she went to like the witch's Stonehenge and went on off, and they just kept going, and everybody kept saying, stay together. So then like today, for her to say, no, we need to stay together. And then here's the choice. The one thing she's been wanting, to find her family, Ezra, her last remaining family member that is lost, that she could save. And now here's this, she's finally accepted Ahsoka as another family member. Like, I can't leave my master. It's her accepting the role of Padawan. However you feel about it, it's her accepting the role, and I like that she stayed.
All
I think
right, let's rewrite it. We got to rewrite this thing, Rakai. We're 15 minutes over. We rewriting this thing.
I know. I was just gonna say that I think it was interesting that we really don't know what's going on. Too, what's going on with Shin Hati? We didn't talk about Shin Hati at all, and the prevailing thought was that she was the replacement from Legends for Mara Jade. That at some point they're gonna have her, when she finds her way back to the galaxy, find Luke, maybe. So I think
Wow.
season 2, we'll see what's going on with Shin Hati. Yeah.
Wow.
Shin Hati and Luke makes
Because
baby.
everybody
I
was
didn't
kind
think
of
about
talking
that.
about like they were thinking Shin Hati was going to get stuck on the planet with Ahsoka and get trained by her.
I hope they hired someone to play
Well,
If they do
yeah.
that.
I mean,
Guys, we have to
We have
leave.
to
Wait,
leave.
I
We
understand.
gotta
but-
go.
No, I'm trying to get.
Okay, but we never got to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
Supposed to be the last one. Okay, so Chuck, how are you re-rating it?
Cringeworthy.
All right,
What's my cringeworthy?
Courtney, how are you gonna re-rate it?
I'm gonna say I enjoyed the journey, like the trajectory. I thought it started off slow, but I thought it ended well, and I think it represented the characters. I think it cleared up their arcs, and I liked it.
All right, Rakai, how you gonna re-rate it?
I'm gonna stay like it did. It did see. I mean, episode 1 and 2 start off slow, started to turn around episode 3, but episode 4 through 8 were bangers. So
All right. I'm gonna stick with mine. I'm gonna stick with a mini meal. Dayla, how are you gonna re-rate it?
I'm gonna stay with Bingeworthy, and I'm gonna say I want to go back and watch Sabine say the line that is the hook, which is she wanted Ahsoka to want her, and that is the thing I'm gonna rewatch, and I think that is the turn in episode 8. So yeah, I'm so about it. Bingeworthy.
Okay. Catherine, bring us on home. How are you gonna re-rate it?
I'm gonna keep it at mini meal. I think this show could have probably been 5 to 6 episodes instead of 8. To me, the pacing was too slow, and there were some episodes that didn't need to drag on for 2. But it was visually interesting. The acting was great. Contacts, they need to fix that on some characters and certain wigs. But it was an interesting story. I do feel like some beats were a bit more predictable, but I know it's like Star Wars, so it's not going for something super complicated. But yeah.
Okay. So everybody pretty much stayed the same. So for Star Wars, for Ahsoka, we're gonna get it's a 3.66. We'll round that up, and that's gonna be a full meal. All right. Chuck, what you guys say before we head out?
It was good. See y'all tomorrow for Bingeworthy. I mean, not Bingeworthy, but for a Geek Feast. For Geek Feast.
what did we just do?
Yeah, take 2 of Ahsoka and continue the continuation episode. So we didn't
Talk
get
about Shin Hati.
Bingeworthy B.
You know, she's gonna lose her force powers, and it goes over.
She's gonna get blocked.
She's gonna put together a clan to rival the Hutts and Boba Fett and find her way back.
That's right.
I was
the
surprised she
Peridia.
didn't go back.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. The Peridia bandits.
She's gonna put together the Emperor's
The New Tusken Raiders.
power.
For sure.
Extended. Huh?
She's gonna get the
Extended
Emperor's she's gonna get the Emperor's army together. So in the last episode of this is the last one we did with Rey and all the
Jedi.
Oh yeah.
The Last Jedi, and had all the star destroyers. She's gonna go and put them all together.
Roddy says she turns into Snoke.
I mean, she already kind of looks like him.
Snoke.
For sure.
Don't be
cut off that
surprised.
Padawan
Don't
braid.
be surprised.
Oh my God, you cut off that. Oh, please. I hate those braids.
What
I hate
is
those
that
little
Padawan
Padawan
braid?
braids.
Yeah, what is that?
It's
Padawan
like,
braid.
I didn't know Sith. I mean, I know she wasn't a Sith technically, but she also wasn't a Jedi. So why she had a little braid?
Because
Like-
She's a
Baylan-
Jedi, because everybody's a
Baylan-
Jedi or Sith in the series.
Unless, I was like, ooh, what if she's
Unless
the
they're
founder
witches.
of Knights of Ren, and then her. and
Some
Luke-
people said that. Some people said Sabine might be the night.
Founder of
Shen.
Knights of Ren. Yeah.
Start
just
the
drop the W.
Yeah. So it's all kind of things out
Well, and then can I say the last thing is in the helmet intro at the top. Sabine's helmet is in Sith red, not in Jedi blue.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if actually the full arc of all 4 seasons. That's my curiosity. Is does Sabine?
Maybe
She's from
Sabine
Sith.
lives the legacy of Anakin and turns evil and kills Ahsoka.
Oh Lord. Courtney, you got you
Oh,
say
no.
that out, Bill?
Yeah, I was surprised that Shin didn't go back. I'm curious to see what happens next season for season 2. If we get a season 2, which I'm assuming we have to, right? Because they ended on a cliffhanger. But
Maybe.
yeah,
Maybe they use them in movies
I'm
somehow.
ready.
That our guys can clue them in.
Next time, see, same geek time, same geek channel.
Cool. Catherine, got anything to say before we head out, ma'am?
I feel weird that I completely forgot that Morgan Elizabeth was in Mandalorian, but I now realize, like, oh yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna probably go back and watch Clone Wars and Rebels, but probably I've heard to skip season 1 was the advice I've been given. But I'm gonna go back and watch it and probably rewatch everything else. So I hope everyone.
Rebels.
Huh?
Season 1 of Rebels.
Season 1 of Clone Wars. I've been told to skip season 1 of Clone Wars because I've heard.
Whoever told you that, you should not be
You
friends.
should not listen to them.
Oh,
If
okay.
you're gonna watch it,
Block
watch
their
it.
number and be like,
I've watched the
Just
first
suck it up.
episode of Clone Wars. That was rough, but like
They're long. They're hard.
They're
Yeah.
long. The
new
first season
animation
is
is pretty
establishing. Yeah,
Yeah,
your
animation
brain
is
has to
pretty
get used to
Yeah.
that
Oh,
new style of animation.
That
It wasn't the
animation
animation; it was the writing of the first episode. But
The new
Yeah, I
line
mean, it was a little
too.
weird with Yoda and the little people and
yeah,
Filoni-
Filoni's
different.
new. Filoni's new at that time.
Right, and we didn't
And
know
it's-
what we were getting, right? I mean, this is right after episode 3. People are bitter about how the prequels kind of are, and then it's like, okay, I'm coming back into this world.
I just want to see Jar Jar Binks turn Sith Lord. Like
Oh.
the video. I want to see.
Daylight, you guys, did you say before we head out, man?
Just I'm so grateful to be in this episode with y'all. It was so fun, and like I'm down. Like now I should rewatch Clone Wars now all the way because I've been jumping around. But
tell us when Squadron is on.
we're back on Monday for the full deep dive into episode 8. Monday at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern, here on the Geekish Network.
Awesome. So check them out. Rakai, you got anything to say before we head out?
No. This was as eventful as I thought it was going to be. So, but it was a good discussion. For me and Chuck, less hollering. So that was good.
Benjies, thank you for tuning in to the BingeWorthy podcast. We are a part of the Geekish Network. The Geekish Network is devoted to people of color. We are content creators. We have amazing people in front of the camera and behind the camera. And we do it to create content for people that look like you, because representation is important. Next week, we're doing the new Castlevania. Was it Castlevania?
Oh, nice.
Nocturne.
Yeah.
Nocturne. So tune back in. We'll be back on our regular scheduled time. That's Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time,
No, 8 o'clock Pacific,
8 o'clock Pacific. And if you are
11 o'clock Eastern time.
yeah, what I say?
10 o'clock
o'clock
Central.
He sorts you out. He sorts you out.
Okay, all right. If you're in between those time, figure it out and come back and see us. Talk to you guys later. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.